This is Ksenia Svetlova, and I'm very happy to welcome here His Excellency Dr. Jawad Anani, former Deputy Prime Minister and former Foreign Minister of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Dr. Jawad Anani, hello, and thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Okay, so our conversation today will be dedicated to the issue of bilateral relations between Israel and Jordan in light of the event that didn't happen eventually, but it put a lot of turmoil into our lives. And I'm talking, of course, about the annexation. Do you believe that the storm is over? That we already departed from the reality of almost annexation of the Jordan Valley, perhaps other parts of the West Bank, and we reached the safe shores right now?
Well, I don't think that we can drop out being vigilant in Jordan, but we think that the chances now are slimmer than they were before. And that the heyday of July 1st has already passed without any decision being taken. So we are reassured that if we put on a good fight, eventually the proponents of annexation will come to realize that it is not the best option.
What had happened in Jordan during the last few months? When we were talking with you the last time, you were very worried that the annexation will bring a lot of mess into the political life in Jordan and perhaps also destabilize the situation on the Israeli-Jordanian border. What are the regular Jordanians thinking about this situation? And do you think that it's still looming over our heads? Because Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said explicitly that annexation is not off the table and he might resume to it later.
Well, what else would he say? I mean, if I were in his shoes, that's exactly what I would say. And so he was very predictable in that sense. Now the question, he said the same thing before July 1st, and yet he did not go ahead with the decision, blaming the Americans for having stopped him. Now, I don't know about how the American scene is going to develop in that respect, but I believe that Jordanians know, as long as he is in the, have the steering wheels, I don't think that Jordanians will feel quite comfortable that the decision may not be taken, because probably he may use some of the opportune days. For instance, what happens to the budget in Israel? If there is no agreement on the budget, what will happen? So that is a date. Another date is the end of October, before when the American elections get heated and they are too busy being, competing for the Senate and for the House and the presidency. The same thing happens after that. What happens if Mr. Trump, after losing, probably either winning or losing the elections, what would he do if he became a lame president? A lame duck president, then he probably might take a decision in November. So we have to be vigilant about these 3 dates in particular.
So we have to look specifically for these few windows of opportunity, I would say, opportunity for the camp of the supporters of the annexation and to watch specifically for these days. When I was listening to the Emirati spokesperson from the Emirati MFA and from other governmental bodies, so they were saying explicitly that they have guarantees also from the Americans that would prevent from Israel to head and continue with the annexation. Do you believe that this deal that was reached in this August will eventually put a stop, put to a halt this effort, and we are going into next new reality perhaps?
Well, let me reverse the question. What if Israel, the Prime Minister of Israel and his government go ahead with the annexation? Would the Emirates stop the deal?
What do you think?
Reverse their decision? I don't think so. So in a way, and Mr. Netanyahu knows that. So, but I believe that it has posed a dent on the American decision. And I'm sure that, this is the only way for the Emiratis to really look to absolve themselves from what they are being accused of, speedy normalization. So in a way, I believe that the Emiratis now are on the camp of no annexation, because it really would embarrass them very much if that happens and they could not reverse their decision.
Speaking of the normalization of relations between Israel and Arab countries, so after the UAE, there is a prospect also of some other Arab states that might join the UAE eventually. And if it will happen, then do you believe that actually the Arab Peace Initiative that existed for the last 18 years, it was here, it's not relevant anymore, because there is nothing that the Arab Peace Initiative can actually give. There is no reward, as the reward was achieved already without any progress with the Palestinians?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes in some of the capitals of the countries which are being nominated for normalization with Israel in the near future. But I doubt very much that Saudi or Oman would take that step. The only two countries that I find likely to take such a step probably would be Bahrain, and probably now they may not do that, because the main proponent of that was the ex-foreign minister of Bahrain, who has left, and also the change in the position of Mr. Yusuf bin Alawi, who was the foreign minister of Oman, has been changed. Now, does that mean Oman will probably go tilt to the side of normalization or not? We have to wait and see. But I doubt that those two countries will be in a hurry to do so. Sudan might be another candidate, simply because they expect the Israelis to really, the Israeli government, and to put its weight behind Sudan, and probably Egypt may exercise such an option on Sudan, in order for them to leverage their positions over the Nahda Dam, or the dam between Ethiopia and the two countries north of Ethiopia. So in a way, we have to find out. And so if that happens, if only Bahrain or Sudan does that, I don't think that will make a big difference on the validity of the Arab Peace Initiative. But if major countries like Saudi Arabia and others, and they begin to exercise their influence on third countries, that will happen. But I believe that for both Saudi Arabia and Oman and others to take such a step, Israel needs to show seriousness, and probably the Israeli government may have to really say that they cannot go ahead with the annexation.
You know, when I was watching the speeches of, both the Emiratis and the Israelis after the announcement of normalization of relations, I could not, to remember the historical signing of the peace treaty between Jordan and Israel in 1994. There were so much hopes. There was so much optimism. What went wrong? What happened with our bilateral relations?
Well, we are biased when it comes to answering this question, because we believe that we were very serious. I remember I was sitting next to His Majesty King Hussein, and I was, very active in the peace process. We were full of hopes. When we met with our Israeli counterparts in Wadi Araba, we were extremely hopeful that very soon we will see normalization take full speed, actually, full throttle. Unfortunately, many projects were deterred, and over time, we think that peace did not materialize as far as people were concerned. So people-to-people peace did not succeed. Government-to-government peace is still working, because, but it is walking on a very thin line. If the annexation, of course, added to the tension. However, we believe that if that decision is reversed, and some projects were conducted, the Palestinians were given a better deal, the abuse of their human rights stops, I believe that we will have now the atmosphere may be, for the wrong reasons, much more conducive for all to engage in world peace.
So as we are coming to the conclusion of our conversation, I would like to ask you precisely about the Palestinians. So there is no annexation for, foreseeable future. However, the Palestinian autonomy is extremely weak, and since there is no prospect of peace negotiations or anything that might strengthen it, there is also the chance that it will, dissolve, it will be weakened, and it will lose some control eventually. How this new reality will also affect Jordan and the relations between Israel and Jordan, in your opinion?
Well, I believe that, Jordanians are very much attached to what happens to the Palestinians, and we would like to see the Palestinians arrive at a negotiated peace with Israel that will make the Palestinians feel good about their own situation. If they do, I think that relations between Jordan and Israel will extremely prosper. And eventually all the dreams of late Mr. Peres and the joint projects, joint cooperation, we need to come together over very important issues in the future like energy, water, environment, disease combating. I don't know, there is so much that can be done which can enhance the efficiency of the whole region and its effectiveness in the world scene. And also may end up this regional strifes, now that there are two other countries, Turkey and Iran, are showing their own, they're flexing their own muscles in the region. Probably this way we can create some sort of much more regional equilibrium, which would make everybody feel safer and happier. And then Israel would not be considered as an extraterritorial force, but will be considered as an integral part of the region and can be extremely positive and conducive to the realization of true cooperation.
So do you still believe that the road to peace goes through Ramallah, or perhaps does it go now through Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi is marginal, to be honest with you. No matter what happens, eventually the Israelis would realize that. The final peace should be done with the Palestinians. That is where the issue is. The core issue is there. But to say that the Emiratis can replace the Palestinians, well, they may give some politicians an opportunity to gloat. And I'm sure that UAE is an important country. It can bring to the table certain things of value. But that is like looking for the lost penny in a spot because there is light. But that's not where we lost the penny. The penny was lost in a dark place, and we need to go back and look for it there. So go back to the place where you need to do the real thing and realize peace. And that can only happen with the Palestinians. And for Israel's peace and security in the long run, I think that is the best option.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Jawad Anani, for being here with us, from sharing with you from your wisdom and from your knowledge about regional affairs. And we expect to have more conversations with you in the future. Thank you. Shukran jazilan.
Shukran laki. Thank you very much.